Welcome to another CEO Wisdom podcast. Today with us is Tanul Mishra. She is CEO at Afthonia Lab. She is in India and she works with a bunch of fintechs. So that is pretty fascinating topic, especially in India as it is growing exponentially. We're going to talk about fintech, startups, AI, everything in between. This podcast is brought to you by podpire.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to a podcast like this one. Find sponsors. Podcasts are just amazing to meet new people, learn from them, network with them, find leads, even get clients off podcasts. So podpire.com for that. Tanul, I am really honored to have you on today. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and about Afthonia?
Sure. Thanks for having me over, Charles. So I have worked for over a decade, and my career sort of spanned across corporate startups, and then, a business of my own. So I worked in media, telecom, in the payment space. I co-founded a food business because India is a large country, and we wanted to explore the food diversity. I had an exit in about 2018. And that's when, the whole thought about setting up an incubator came in, because when I looked at the Indian landscape, we were growing tremendously. We're the third largest country after US and China with a number of startups. We churn out more unicorns than, either US or China. But what India really lacked was a sort of, safe space for startups to grow and experiment. And that's how the thought of an incubator was born. I'm sure, a lot of people know that India is a very diverse country with diverse demographics. And what that does is it makes the landscape very challenging for startups to grow, because you're catering to different demographics and audiences. And specifically in fintech, it's harder because you're dealing with people's monies and technologies, and the repercussion of that is huge. And we sort of had a feeling that this is a space which is going to grow in India. It's a space which is going to need a lot of intervention and help for startups. And that's how, Afthonia Lab was born, with a focus on incubation in the fintech space. We're the country's only independent fintech incubator.
Right. And who do you incubate right now that is quite impressing and surprising as a fintech?
So there's all of them is what I would say, but there's two startups in two different domains that are addressing different challenges. One is very specific to India, so I'd like to talk about that first. So the product is called Legacy Next, and in India, what happens is that you do not have estate planning and will making. It's not something that happens. So the amount of unclaimed assets, which is not claimed by people when people pass away, is huge. If you have a will, it could take about 8 to 10 years for you to claim your financial legacy. If you don't have a will, it can be even longer. So that makes the whole process very challenging. And obviously, when you lose somebody, it's emotionally very challenging, exhausting. And then if you have to deal with the whole financial aspect, it sort of adds to everything. So this is a young startup. It was founded by a 24-year-old guy, and he's working in the space. They've already processed crores worth 150 crores in Indian rupees. And
Wow.
so that's, and they've brought down the time using technology. So now you can make a will in 5 minutes on their website. So they handle that bit of it, and you can store your assets with them. And if something goes wrong, they help in getting that inheritance to the people that it's supposed to go to. And that has brought down the time to close to 6 to 12 months from such a long space.
Wow. So, okay, the will is set up so that the person can go to the bank and say, hey, the money in that account was my dad's, and can you transfer it to my account now?
Yes, but even then, that is still a long process, because there is a lot of identification and proofs even when you have a will and you go through that. So they come in and they have an army of vetted lawyers and chartered accountants, and they use all that to sort of get the whole financial claim processed quickly.
That's pretty cool. What happens to that money if it ever gets, if it doesn't get touched by anyone, just sits there at the bank for
It's
10
just sitting,
years?
and longer. It's just sitting there.
And is there some cases of corruption sometimes in which like officials just take the cash out of these accounts because no one notices?
No, that hasn't happened because when, the banks in India are highly regulated. So your asset will stay safe. It's just that the process will take really long to get to you.
What
So
other fintechs do you have that is fascinating like this one?
the other one that we have is a company called as FundGrow. So when they started off, they were focused on financial literacy because when the founder came to us, she said, we teach our kids how to save money. We do not teach them how to grow money. And I want to teach kids how to, grow money. And for that, they need to understand finances. So the whole concept was earn, learn, and spend. But what she's done is she's created a sort of marketplace, for the lack of a better word, where the program is called the Teen Lancer program. So all the teens can sign up on this program, on this app, which is called FundGrow. And you have companies which are onboarded. And companies are projects. So think that if a company wants to create a PowerPoint presentation or they want to create a digital campaign, the kids then bid for these projects and create those, and they get paid for this. And they can use the same money to spend or save on the platform. So it's teaching kids responsibility, work ethics, and at the same time helping them to sort of understand the value of money.
So what's specific other than the population growth in India for the fintech market that makes it one of the best markets to grow there?
So I think so the thing is that we're calling demographic dividend. So India is right now reaping the demographic dividend. We have a really young population. Most kids who've been born after 2000 have grown up using only the internet. They're extremely familiar. Like I'll tell you, last week, I'm not sure if you're familiar with UPI. That's what we've been using for payments in India. And it's unified payment interface. So you can be on any bank account and you can use it to make payments instantly. No card, nothing required. And they crossed 1 billion transactions as of last week.
That's
And
a lot.
that's an insane number. So in India, the adoption rates are fast. The young population has grown up only using the internet and is familiar with digital adoption. So that's what makes India very interesting markets. There are different problems in different markets. So the urban market will have a different set of problems, and the rural markets and tier 2 markets will have a different set of problems. But the customer adoption is faster, better, quicker, and that's what makes it an exciting market apart from the size.
Population is really young too.
Yes, very
So
young.
yeah, early adopters. What's your model as an incubator? Do you take percentages? Do you charge them a fee? How does it work?
So we take a percentage of equity. We do not have a cookie cutter approach. So what we do is, so we come in very, very early sometimes. We come in even at a concept stage. And since the program is personalized and customized, the percentage of equity varies, but it's in single digits. And, that's our model. No fixed fee, nothing.
And how do you plan to become the next Y Combinator of fintech?
Look, I think it's going to grow slowly. What makes it, there's things which work in our favor because we're in India. India is ahead of the curve when it comes to fintech. So that naturally gives us an advantage. Our program is different from Y Combinator in the sense that we build a more personalized, customized program. So we spend more time with every startup. We're coming in earlier, so that gives us a better chance at helping the startups grow. So I think we'll both play in different fields, but that's what's going to make us the next big fintech incubator in the world, I think, if not the country.
How do you pick the best founders? What characteristics do they share?
Uh, that's a really good question. I think there's few things that we've noticed amongst all successful founders. I mean, obviously passion for sure, but the other is a belief in what they're building. But something that not very many of us talk about is the fact that they all have a certain tenacity. It's about, entrepreneurship is about coming in every day and chipping away a little bit. So they all have this tenacity and resilience to make it big. They know they're onto something and they keep chipping away at it. I think that's one thing that I see as an underlying quality in all successful founders. To
What
keep that
about,
focus, keep that tenacity.
right, tenacity, for sure, adaptability, coachability,
And
can
I
think
would
of.
say flexibility, openness to feedback. That's something that we've seen. The ability to take even the harshest feedback, analyze whether it's best for the company or not, and then use that, right? And they're all great executors.
Yeah, the feedback taking part, I find that it doesn't come like default, or I mean, even if it comes default, it's like very nascent in everyone. I find the only way to get good at taking feedback is mass exposure. And you will never get mass exposure until you actually integrate an organization that is extremely friendly with feedback, and not a lot of orgs are like that. So I find that at least, yeah, if they can have the coachability part and listen when they come in, sure. And then the feedback part, it needs to be gradual and give some more, because a lot of people sometimes it's very hard for the ego, to take feedback, especially when you're founder and you're smart, and it's hard for the heart to just question yourself and be like, oh, I thought I was that, but I'm not in the end.
No, I agree. I mean, I've been a founder. I still think of myself as a founder. And when you're really close to something, it's really hard to take feedback. But I also think, like you said, yes, some level of coachability. I also think it's about how you give feedback. So, I think that makes a lot of difference, but it's something that all founders grow into. It's not something that you come to the table with. But if you show signs of coachability, it's a great sign for incubators to sort of pick on you, because we know that, giving feedback is going to be one of the key roles, because not everything is going to be right with the business, right?
So I work with VCs and incubators, and I help their startup reach product market fit as soon as possible. I do it
Right.
through cold email. So we target a bunch of niches. We try product variants, and we just try to see what works, what role,
Sure.
what size of company, what vertical, what technology they're using, if they had funding or not, for example.
Hmm.
How do you reach product market fit the quickest on your side, and when is too much pivoting?
Uh, that's so. So the thing is, the way our program works, Charles, is that we have a panel of mentors. These mentors come in from different fields and different spaces globally. What that does is that it gives, and we work with a lot of ecosystem partners and growth mentors. This gives us like an immediate connect into the market and the ability to sort of tap into that and see if the product is going to work right here, right now, even at the wedding stage. And once the product is out, because we have a reach with all these guys, it helps us connect and get those initial contracts and deals in for the startups. Uh, that's how we go and get the product market fit. Um, Too much, if you're going to have to change your product every couple of months to sort of cater to every other customer, and everything is going to be bespoke, that's too much of pivoting then. Because you're building for, even if you're building in niche, you're building for a certain target audience, right? And if you're going to have to keep reworking even for that target audience, then you're definitely not either in the right target segment, or the product will just not work. And sometimes that's something we all have to accept, that not every product's going to work.
So people, they come in with a resemblance of a product market fit in your program, right?
Some of them come to us at a concept stage. So we've had, so when Legacy Next came to us, they came to us at a concept stage. But we knew that there is a need in the market. The question that we had to address to get the product market fit is, what is it going to take to educate the customer to come onto the platform? And that's when, when we do the whole shortlisting process, we get feedback from each of the mentors. where we figured that the best product market strategy for them would be to go B2B, because most corporates offer employee benefit programs, and it would be a faster way to go ahead. And that's what helped us understand that. So even if you come to us at a concept stage, we have the ability and the skill, and the method to sort of reach out and figure how to build this out.
Right. And what medium do you use to test out like extremely rapidly market feedback? Is it Facebook ads? I mean, in B2B, the go-to in my world is cold email. After that, it's LinkedIn outreach. What do you use to get immediate and qualitative market feedback?
So for us, I'm not going to use the word bias, but most of our products have been B2B SaaS. So, for us, LinkedIn has been the go-to to get feedback. And obviously, not cold emails, but for us, knowing people, having the network and the ability to connect with them and check, hey, is this product going to work in the B2B space? So from all our portfolio startups, about 90-95% of them are B2B. So it's easier for us to do that versus Facebook or Instagram ads.
And how do you do that from a scientific perspective? For example, I find that in my cold email campaigns, before 100 emails, there's no statistical relevance. So even if the open rate is like 65%, I don't really care much. I also have the gut level feeling feedback. If I start a campaign, like yesterday, I started building your Tanul GPT as a service, agency. Okay. And I'm getting responses this morning of like, yeah, I'm down, let's go. I have a gut feeling this is going to work, So, right. And I get a strong gut feeling that my hypothesis that this market was ready for that was right. So how do you deliberate between scientific brain feedback sort of and gut feeling of, yeah, I feel there's something there?
So it's not a one-person decision when we incubate startups. That's the approach that we've put in. So the way we sort of balance that is obviously gut is extreme. Instincts are very important. Gut is very important. But we've got we've got a model built out for our program, which maps the startup and the founder on various parameters. And these include, patents. Are you going to be open to global market? Are you going to be open to just the Indian market? Are you insurance? So, what's the competition level in the Indian market for those players? So various parameters cutting across the founding team and the product or the service. And in our shortlisting process, the way it works is, apart from the team and me, we've got mentors who come in, and these mentors are business mentors and tech mentors who evaluate and have conversations. So everybody ends up putting their feedback onto this, tool that we built, and we have a cutoff, and we use that to sort of bring in the startups into the program.
Love it. That is pretty cool. I'm really bullish on fintechs of India. Like, would love to keep touch with you and see how I can help. Absolutely. And potentially, yeah. How do you go with investors, folks that are like, yeah, I want to invest in some of your startups there?
So India obviously is our market. So we're well connected with the investors, and the Indian ecosystem has traditional investors, micro investors, angel investors, and we have our roots with all of them. Globally, we have a network through our panel of mentors and other connects, but obviously we're open because we see a lot more interest globally in Indian startups for investing. And that's very exciting for us. So that's something that we want to build on in the future, where we get more global investors into our startups. That's something that we want to go focus on. I can't hear you, Charles. I think you got muted.
Yeah, I got muted by myself. Noble, humble brag here, but okay. Don't you want to maximize like these investments? You have campaigns searching for actual investors. For example, if you take like, I don't know, 5 to 10%, isn't it in your interest to outreach to investors and help your founders to get these investments?
Yes, that's how we work. So we have our own outreach for investors. Obviously, we've got like thought processes. We want the investors to be bullish on fintech, but we also try and see what is the other value that they can add to the founder in the journey, because we're an incubator and we're looking to other people to also help them grow, right? Because there's a stage when our role becomes minimal once the founder grows and scales. So we want to look at what are the other value adds that the investor can bring in, and we have an outreach that we do with investors both within India and globally, and build conversations and create that pool who can look at investing in our startups.
That's pretty cool. Where can people find out more about you, Tanul?
You can look up AfthoniaLab.com. You can find me on LinkedIn at Tanul Mishra, and we have a page which says Afthonia Lab on LinkedIn.
There we go. And I am Charles. This is CEO Wisdom Podcast.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to a podcast that is podbiter.com. That was Tanul Mishra.